So one of my favorite accessories to use with the GoPro and other action cameras is a power bank. I love using a power bank with my action cameras because you can easily charge them on the go, or you can use those power banks to charge the batteries for those. And when I'm doing a time lapse or a night lapse and I need to have my camera running for many, many hours, it's great to be able to plug in a power bank and not have to worry about the batteries running out. But lately I've been looking for a smaller power bank because some of these power banks I have are quite large, and they're not the best power banks to take on hikes or when I'm traveling, because when I'm flying on a plane or something like that, I value every single cubic inch of space that I can get in my luggage. So I try to get gear that is smaller and smaller while still providing the needed power. So the power bank I'm going to talk about today is the smallest one I have found, and it provides a pretty good charge despite its small size. The power bank I have here is the Futurizta Pixy Mini. And mini is a great word for it. It describes it well. This thing is tiny. The great thing about the Pixy Mini is the power this holds is equivalent to about 3 GoPro batteries, or 3 Action 3 batteries, or about 4 of the Insta360 One RS batteries. So the Pixy Mini holds 5,000 milliamp hours of power. So to give you perspective here, this Anker power bank right here, I like this power bank. It holds a lot of charge, but it's kind of big. This is a brick. It's big, it's heavy. So it's not good, like if I'm going on a hike and I want to pack ultra light, this is not the best thing to carry along. It actually is pretty hefty. This Pixy Mini here, this weighs 98 grams or about 3.5 ounces. It is really light. And even this other Anker one that I thought was smaller, which it is a lot smaller than this one, when you put this next to these, that kind of gives you a good perspective. It is very small. So one of the first ways I like to use this is I like to use it along with the Inky Falcon or the Hohem iSteady Pro 4 gimbals. And the reason for that is when you mount the GoPro on those, the GoPro with the battery in it weighs about 200 grams. And these have a max payload of 200. So if you can take the battery out and power the GoPro using the Pixy Mini, you can connect the Pixy Mini to this with a rubber band. I'm going to demonstrate in a moment. So you can have it down here where it's out of the way of the motors, and it kind of can just sit here on the side while still having it plugged into the GoPro, which is great. The other great thing about the Pixy Mini is it provides the correct amperage and voltage so that you don't have to have a battery inside the GoPro. There are a lot of power banks that don't provide that, and you cannot run your GoPro without a battery present in it. But this one does do that, which I love, because there are plenty of use cases where you may not want the battery in there, and this is one of them. So what I can do is I can mount this, then I can have the cord run above the arm here, so it's not in the way. So what I can do is I can get everything attached, and I can have this rubber banded around it right here. So it's attached to provide extra power to the GoPro without the battery needing to be in the GoPro. So what that means is, first of all, this balance is much easier on a gimbal like the Inky Falcon or the Hohem iSteady Plus, and it also puts less pressure on the motors on this gimbal. So in the end, what that equals is that equals smoother, better footage at a fairly low cost too, which I really like. So this is one of my favorite use cases for the Pixy Mini, but I've got more use cases as well. We're gonna put the battery back in. I'm gonna show you the next use case. Next use case, if you want the equivalent of 3 GoPro batteries with you, powering your GoPro at all times, and you're not going to have your GoPro mounted on anything, you can also connect this to the GoPro. So the way I like to do it is I like to have the wording on here facing down, and I like to have the cable here to the side on the non-USB-C side. So I'm going to connect this. And what you want to do when you put the rubber band over the GoPro is you want to make sure it's not over the lens and also not hitting the power button. And depending on the tension of the rubber band, it might be a good idea to do 2 passes. So with this one, I'm going to do a second pass so that it's good and secure right there. And so then what I can do is I can bring this cable around underneath and I can plug it in here. Now I have the USB-C pass-through door, which I highly recommend. It's a low-cost accessory from GoPro, and it's great to not have to have the door awkwardly hanging open, your battery falling out, or you getting water in there. But when you do that, what you can do is you can see the status light on the bottom, so you're not blocking it that way. So what you have here is you have the equivalent of 3 GoPro Enduro batteries in this right here on the bottom. So when you're using your GoPro, you've got your battery in there, but you've also got this constantly charging your GoPro while you use it. So eventually this is going to deplete, but if you start off with a full GoPro battery inside your GoPro, and also have a fully charged Pixy Mini on the bottom with the equivalent of 3 batteries, then you have the equivalent of 4 GoPro batteries with you. And that is a lot of power for whatever adventure you're on. You don't have to worry about losing these. You of course could bring these along too. And then when this runs out, you have even more power. A total charge of 7 GoPro batteries with you if you did that. But yeah, when you have this connected, as you can see, it's powering the GoPro battery. It's charging it up while you use it. And even if you have your GoPro off, it's still going to charge it until it reaches 100%. And then this will stop charging the battery. But if you're using it continuously, it's going to keep providing continuous power while you use it. And with the rubber band, it doesn't touch the touchscreen here. It sticks out just slightly. So I find that it doesn't get in my way there either. But this is the second way I use it. And then the third way I use it is I also use it with the Volta. So the Volta, of course, already has a built-in battery that equals approximately 4 of the GoPro batteries when it's fully charged. But what we can do is we can mount this on the Volta. We can plug the Volta into the GoPro. And then what we can do with the Pixy Mini is we can rubber band the Pixy Mini to the Volta. And we can connect it down here where it's out of the way. So we can have this facing outward. And let me get it connected here. I'm gonna do 2 passes with the rubber band again. I feel like the Pixy Mini should just ship a rubber band with it because it's super useful to connect it to so many things. And then what we do here is we plug the Pixy Mini USB-C cable into the Volta. So what this is doing while you're using the Volta, the Pixy Mini is charging the Volta as the Volta charges the GoPro. So your GoPro up here is charging from the Volta, and the Volta is charging from the Pixy Mini. So what you have here with this type of setup is you have the equivalent of about 8 GoPro batteries in this setup here. You have the battery inside the camera, you have the Volta that equals about 4 additional GoPro batteries, then you have the Pixy Mini that equals about 3 additional GoPro batteries. So this is like the ultimate setup. You've got enough charge here for hours and hours of GoPro filming. So I really like it. It actually makes the Volta in a way better to grip for someone like me. Like I like having that extra grip there. Of course, if you're gonna use the tripod legs on the Volta, you would not want this attached here at that time. You know, you would want to bring down the rubber band so you can fold out the legs. But what I love about the Pixy Mini is the price as well. I have an exclusive discount code in the description below, and if you use that, you'll get an additional 10% off the Pixy Mini. It'll end up costing you only slightly more than one of these batteries, or the batteries for other action cameras cost new. So basically, you're getting 3 for the price of 1 when you buy the Pixy Mini. And of course, the Pixy Mini can be used for charging other devices as well. It's great for charging my iPhone. It can charge the iPhone approximately 1 to 1.5 times. So if my battery ran out on my iPhone, I could plug in the Pixy Mini with a USB to Lightning cable and I could charge my phone all the way up to 100% and then a little bit beyond that as well. So I like it that it's not just for action cameras, but I have tested this with the Osmo Action 3 as well. It works great with that. You do have to, of course, have the USB-C door open on the Osmo Action 3 while you're using this. So if you're filming with the camera, you do have to have the door open. I'm not aware of a pass-through door for the Action 3. There might be one by the time you watch this. If there is, then I definitely encourage getting that because I love it on my GoPro. And I have tested it with the Insta360 One RS. And of course, if you know anything about the One RS, it's got that door. That's pretty easy to lose that plastic piece, so I just pull off the piece if I'm using this with it. Well, I love the Pixy Mini. It's a great value for the price, and it works really well to have that extra power on the go. The size is really the key here, and the amount of power it holds relative to the size is quite impressive. So if you're an action camera user like myself, I definitely encourage you to check out the Pixy Mini. I love the size and the value this provides for the price.